Okay, so hi everyone, and I hope the volume and stuff's loud enough. So as I was saying, we'll go live tonight about the skills training. So on the recent poll in the group, um, top of the list was skills. So this isn't just about skills; it's more about skills and how to use them to make music out of them, instead of just learning skills and then you think about what to do with them now. So I'm just going to go in here and share a quick PDF here just to show you. You can see this if I can go and share screen here. Okay, so we'll run back up through this and move this out of the road. And don't worry if you'll be able to watch this back. If you're missing it now, you'll be able to watch it back in the group. So what I wanted to do was, I've done skills training before. What I wanted to do was to just talk about a wee bit about chord tone soloing. Now this applies to, it's not just for lead guitar, right? So it's not just for lead guitar. If you're playing acoustic and you want to add fill-ins to songs and you have a few scales down, you can target the tones as well and target chords that are coming late. And we're not going to get deep into it, but I'm just going to show you in a basic way how it gives structure to playing with scales. So specifically what we're kind of doing, the way you could think of this chord tone thing, now there's a PDF here. This will be available afterwards as well. So if you want to comment in after the video that you want to copy this, just put in skills training and I'll make sure you get a copy of this. So there's quite a lot of stuff in this. As usual, I kind of go overboard with it. It's 8 pages long, but I wanted to make sure you had plenty of detail in it. So a couple points first, just when we get into it about scales. So some of the uses for scales: to create solos, to fill in between chord changes, to help with finger dexterity, and to use with chord melody along with chords, obviously. So same thing in ukulele. I understand there's some guys maybe in the group play ukulele, and the guys in the ukulele group, if you're watching this, you clicked on the link and you've joined, it's the same thing there. If you want to get into chord melody, knowing that fretboard and knowing the scales really well is really important to just expand your whole playing. So one of the things is that I would say is to have a good think about why you're learning scales. I mean, why not just because somebody turns around and says, oh, you must learn scales. Think about, why am I learning these? What do I want to get out of learning scales on guitar? Do I want to get into lead solo and play like Hendrix later on, or do I want to just expand on what I already know and stop playing the same sort of boring chords all the time, which is one of the things that can really spice up your playing. So what I would say is, obviously when you're learning them, now we're going to work on just 2 scales because we could be here all night and could be working on loads of them. I'm going to use A natural minor and a bit of A pentatonic minor. Now one thing I would say, and this probably would be a bit controversial maybe, but everybody seems to jump, well 99% of people seem to jump in and learn the A pentatonic minor first. I kind of recommend against that and make sure you get the bottom end of the fretboard down. There's plenty of time to get into that later, and there's loads of stuff you can do with it. But from an acoustic point of view, with a lot of it being open chord stuff, you probably want to be down on the bottom end and get used to that. And then you have the advantage of having that. You can take what you know in open scales, start fretting them on the lower frets down here, and then that'll become part of your cage system and your boxes later on. Now I would point out that the Get Playing Guitar Accelerator program covers quite a bit on scales, and I will be adding more to it. If you've probably heard me going on in the group about it. If you're interested at all about it, comment afterwards as well, info, and I'll reach out and we can have a chat and I can explain how it'll really help your playing. But in this, right, what we're going to do then, a few tips before we get started. So I talk a lot in my own lessons about trusting the scale. The scale's laid out for you, and once you have it down and you've got, you're using the right scale over the right chords, then it's like, right, I can't really go wrong here. And you'll know when you hit some dud notes. If you hit some dud notes, you'll hear it right away. And as I was just saying there in a chat with somebody, hitting bum notes and dud notes are really important. A lot of my learning was from guesswork and hitting the wrong thing. And by doing that, I thought, right, well, I know not to go back there again, because that just didn't work. So if I was playing a 2-octave pentatonic minor, and when I was learning it, I was thinking, all right, that doesn't sound right, even though that would be a blues, as I found out later. It wasn't the sound I wanted to hear. Another important thing when you're using scales, if you're getting into more of a straightforward soloing end of things, is leave some space. Don't be one of these guys that constantly playing and playing and playing. Let the music come through. And the same if you're doing fill-ins. Right. Don't want to be constantly doing that over and over. You want to, if you were just playing a simple G and a C, want to let those chords come through sometimes, and let the, as I said, and let the music breathe. So how to know which scale to use and when? Big clue as to which scale is going to suit is the opening chord of the song. There's no point in using scales if you don't know what chords you're playing and what order and what changes there are in the piece. Right, so make sure you have the chords down, you know the song really well, and you know any chord changes that come up, if there's a bridge or a pre-chorus, that you know what's happening, because that's a really great place to go in and use chord tones that we're going to use later on. But the basic rule is, I probably covered this before, if it's a minor chord sequence, use a minor scale. In a straightforward, simple way, if it's a major chord sequence, use a major scale. That's probably the easiest way to think of it. Now, there are thousands of scales, but only get the ones down that you're actually going to need and they're going to add to your playing, which is majors, minors, the full major, natural minor, pentatonic major, and blues. If you have those 5, that's a good solid foundation. And as I said, don't neglect the open end. Get those down in the bottom end, and then I always teach my students to work their way up. Then they can the feel in, right, I've got the bottom end, the fretboard, and now I can connect it all. So the A natural minor scale we're going to use here is just the basic 1-octave one. Now I will say that these things here, it's a wee bit fuzzy there because it's scanned in, but that's straight out of my lead guitar book. Not sure whether you know, but I have a lead guitar book that covers all this stuff right up to 3-octave scales and loads of riff ideas and backing tracks and everything. So if you're interested at all about that as well, you can comment book afterwards and I will reach out and explain to you what's going on there. So this is why when you're looking through this PDF, you'll notice track 14, because it's straight out of the book. I didn't bother taking that out because it's actually from the book. And the book has the riffs and has audio for every single riff and every single track in it. So for example, that riff there where we're going from the D string. Alright, so nicely. Now, just want to say, when you're reading that underneath, that's the fingers. So index, middle, middle, and ring finger. Very important to have the fingers down. So the chord sequence that I'm going to use a backing track here to explain all this. It's like a sort of chilled out blues, like a slow hand blues is what the actual name of it was. It's just A minor 7, D minor 7, G, E minor. Does that on a loop, then it goes into F, E minor, G, and then back in again. It's just a nice relaxing track. You can also download that straight from the PDF as well. It's going to be really useful. Right, so there's the link to the track. If you have the PDF, you'll be able to get that. Right, so riff 2 here, just a simple. Now, these will sort of fall into context a bit better when the track's going. So what I'm going to do here is basically have a quick look here. Before we get onto the chord tones, the 5 techniques that you need to get down to really get your playing moving are hammer-ons, pull-offs, slides, vibrato, and bends. So the pitch is really important on bends. So what I would say is spend a bit of extra time getting the pitch down I'm just going to look at maybe if I put a couple of bends in here, it'll probably be whole tone bends, which basically means bending a note up to what it would sound like 2 frets higher. But the pitch on bends is really important. Okay, so then we're going to get on to the obvious one, which is the pentatonic minor. Of course, this note here makes it a full box shape, but it actually runs to the root note there. So 5, 8, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 8, 5. And an 8 up here. But useful for really useful to add that in. That's like a stepping stone on up that string. Again, the fingers, of course, you can hear that on the track from the book as well. The fingers are index, pinky, so the P for pinky, index, ring, ring, index, ring. So we're getting that 4 fret stretch, first to the 4th. Right, so simple riff here, just kind of going through these riffs. You'll be able to hear all these too if you do decide to go for the book. But so all we're doing here is just playing a 3rd finger. But even something like that is quite effective. Now you'll notice how that becomes effective when the chords in the background are playing. There's another one there as well, which is probably something similar. So you can bend that 5 up as well. There's all things you can do inside that box. But what we're going to look at now is chord tones. So what this basically means is, if there's chords going on in the background, the chord tone is the root note of the chord, is the way I'm sort of looking at it. So in this track we're going to play over, as I say, we've got A minor 7. Now looking at the A natural minor scale, I'm going to keep this really, really basic. String 5 is obviously the A note. D is the, string 4 is the D note. G is open 3rd. And E is fret 2 on string 4. When it comes to the change, fret 3, string 4 is the F. The 2 down there on fret 2, string 4. And the G open. Now already, because I know how the track sounds, I can hear the sound of the track. So I'm already, with 4 single notes, I'm mapping out the sound of, I suppose you could call it the verse. So I'm going to put the track on, and you'll be able to hear it here. You see what I mean? I'm going to do this with these notes. Just hope it's all loud enough. Right, so you're going to have to hear this 2 seconds. Okay, so hopefully that's coming through. Right, so we're just going to go. Just following the track. Now when it changes. Okay, so we're getting a wee bit of a kind of feedback here. That's probably because I should have had the track on separately, but sure, we're not worried about that. So you can kind of hear how it's following it. So even if you don't know and you've never soloed before, it starts to sound like you know what you're doing just by knowing those few notes. So we're actually only covering A, D, G, E, and F over this track. So it's not going to take long to learn where those notes are. If you're working on a track from, say, it's a C major scale, and the chords are C, F, A minor, G. Right, from within the scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. There's your C. There's your F. A minor. You could go for an A there. And then open that 3rd string up to make a G. And there you've got the pattern of it. Now obviously that's on a really, really basic level, but we're not talking about getting deep into it. Between all those notes would be the riffs. So that without the track. Right, so that brings us kind of back. Now you'll notice that I'm constantly coming back to this note here. Bringing it back to the root note gives it structure. You don't have to bring it back to the root note. When you get into lead playing, it's probably a good idea to not do that and stay away from the root note and leave the whole thing hanging. So the only problem here for me now, if I play this through speakers, we're getting a bit of a delay, but I should have had it on a separate speaker. But anyway, you can see the idea of what I mean. So what's happening here on this one is if we take a look at this, these are the notes that we use from the track that are within the A natural minor scale open. Now, one thing note that's not on there, as you can see, is the E, but the E would be there. Right, so you've got A, C, D, F, and G. You could use the C note, but generally we're sticking to the notes that are completely and totally following the chords to keep it really straightforward. So if you're trying to get a solo together, or you're trying to put something in and you're thinking, I can't get this going, stripping things back to basics is the best way to do it. And then from there, you could just add on riffs. So what we would do is take the notes, put a few techniques in, hammer on, pull off. Right, so that's from the A natural minor scale. So obviously that's down this end. If we were to do that from the pentatonic minor 2 octave, you've got the option of the whole thing if you want it. What I would suggest is maybe take the bottom octave, 5, 8, 5, 7, 5, 7, runs you through from an A to an A, right? So 5, 8, 5, 7, 5, 7. So I'm running from A, C, D, E, G, A. If you want, you can go on through and treat that as the start of the next octave. A, C, D. We can put the E in. I've actually marked, that should actually be E there. It's a typo, that should be E, sorry. E, G, A, C. It's not F. F would be there. You can add that in if you want. If you want to add a 6 in, we'll make it a bit of A natural minor. Right, so a lot more going on there, but if we pull out, remember the notes of the song were A, D, G, B. Now, if you wanted to get things a bit higher, you could look at the same notes, but in the thinner strings. A, so A, what was it? A, D, E, and then G. So there's your structure, and if you wanted to grab that F, we do need that F. Actually, it's a 6, it's not a 5. Right, so you can hear it. So I'm going to just put the track on. Well, never mind the delay, we'll just play away here. So let's see. I just want you to be able to hear the track. So we can bring that up. Right, now. So you can hear the A, D, G, E. So I'm not doing anything fancy. It's going to go into the change, target the F, E, G, back to the start. Okay, so hopefully you can kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about now. We're basically following chords with the chord tones. Now this is in a basic level. This is only to get you started. Obviously this could get really advanced and you could really get into this. If I was teaching the lead guitar, I would be taking you way past this and putting in thirds and sixes and sevens, whatever else. Arpeggios and so you have like a, let's see. So you get all kinds of things we could put in where we'd be taking boxes in, but you do need to learn this in a sort of a sequence and a structured way. It's not just random. So I don't advise everybody to jump in and grab the pentatonic minor and here we go, and then you're thinking, oh, you hear everybody's talking, a lot of people talking about, oh, I get stuck in a rut. That's what happens. They jump in this box, they don't think of anything else, so they're just, well, this box all the time. They're not thinking about what they're actually doing with it and what's going on in the background and letting the song breathe and all these things that make solos what they are. You know, so to say this soloing stuff is, it can be used on acoustic or electric. I don't sort of separate the two. When I'm playing acoustic, I put loads of fill-ins in. I'll show you what I mean. So if we apply this to the acoustic, which a lot of people know in the group probably are doing. So if we put in a so you can see that I'm using all kinds of things are going on there. A minor 7, D minor 7, using a bit of natural minor, G and E minor. I would keep it down low. So it's endless what you can do with it, and it really opens up the fretboard. So when I'm thinking of playing music, teaching people to play music, it's not just, here's the song, here's the chords, here's how the rhythm goes, that's it. There's far, far more to it than that. You want to get into it and really almost customize it and make it your own. I think that's what playing music should be about. That is the whole idea, as I mentioned earlier, about the Get Playing Guitar Accelerator program. It's not to just teach you the basics, it's to teach you the foundation and then build on top of that with loads of ideas for adding riffs in and fill-ins between, like a you don't want to limit yourself on guitar, but you need to get the foundation down first, and then we could go in and add to it. So sorry about that with the music thing. I should have really had it back. I should have had the MP3 player and a speaker separate there for that, but never thought there till I actually put it on. You think of these things afterwards. But I hope you find that sort of useful. And if you want to have a chat about your playing with me or anything, I mean, there's a link on the PDF there. You can contact me directly on Facebook and we can have a chat, and I'd be happy to give you some tips and help you move forward. If you do want to check out the book, there is the link to the book as well. For the guys in the group at the minute, it's on offer right now. It's $9.99 for the book, and there's loads in it, and there's a load of extra bonuses as well that I would send through, soloing checklist and riff ideas and loads of things. So it's definitely worth getting, even to have as a reference, if nothing else, that you could come back to. And there's also email support with the group or with the book as well. So that's another thing that you wouldn't get if you were buying it online. You've got the advantage of having me in the group to help you along with it. So hope you find that useful. As I say, if you want a free copy of this PDF, just comment scales training in the comments below when this is uploaded onto Facebook. And well, I'd really love to know if you let me know if you find this useful and it's helped your playing. And if you want to ask more questions about it, feel free. I'm there to help you out whenever I can. And as I say, I'll keep an eye on the polls. There'll be more polls coming up soon, and whatever training gets the highest votes is the one that I'm going to be doing training on. So not sure what it'll be next. It's been rhythm and stuff in the past. If you're new to the group, it's been rhythm in the past. There's a rhythm masterclass, and it's really down to you. The more you vote, the more you interact in the group, the more help I can give you. That's really the way I kind of work things. All right, so hope you've enjoyed that, and I'll see you again in a training pretty soon. If you're playing a bit of ukulele, what I would say is to join the Get Playing Ukulele group. There's going to be training there in that group next week. Some guys maybe play a bit of both. So if you want to do a search on Facebook for Get Playing Ukulele, you join that group. Or if you want, I'll send you through the link. Just let me know. And we'll take this off share here. And I'll see you then in the next training. All right, see you soon. Yep, bye.